Well, it's time now to take a quick look at today's newspapers. We have quite a number of them here, and we also have Ayodele Adio, managing editor of Global TV. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Ayodele.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Same here.
Let's begin with the Punch newspaper. APC National Working Committee cancels Lagos governorship primary, postpones exercise. Election free fair, says party state chairman. Ambode did well, but is not a good party man. That is Tinubu. Well, the front page picture features scenes of the rescue operation. The news is that man jumps into Lagos Lagoon, dies. Power supply drops amid gas shortage, grid collapse. Scores escape death as tanker fire destroys vehicles in Lagos. The federal government increases gas flare penalty from 10 naira to 613 naira. That's on page 27.
Yeah, I'm quite more interested in the, two of the stories there. One, for the tankers, the fact that there has to be stricter regulations around these tanker drivers. The menace, that these people cause is becoming something else in Lagos State. So we need to be stricter with the rules that govern the quality of the trucks that they drive, the safety measures that they take, the licensing of the drivers that drive these trucks.
One would have thought that the recent fire accident would have inspired this kind of resolution on the part of government.
That's the problem, we've had consistently over time. We're reactive people, so we find the emotional part. When a terrible incident occurs, we cry, we mourn, and then we move on. And that's where the tragedy is.
Yeah, because so the last incident, on Otedola Bridge, in fact, at that time, we saw the Lagos state government come up with, some proactive measures. But like you said, it was only reactionary. And after that time, it seemed like it was business as usual.
Exactly. So I think we need to do more to protect the lives of people. We just can't leave tankers unregulated. Some of these trucks are old, can barely climb bridges. Some of the safety measures are not in place. So I think we need to do more.
All right. Is that all from the Punch?
Exactly, I think so.
Okay, let's move to the Nation newspaper now. That's our next paper. Lagos APC primary, fine. Shomole tells Buhari. Okay. That's the chairman overrules panel, and party Sanwo-Olu won, and Tinubu hails primary. Okay, so there is this back and forth where
about
the leadership, the state chairman and the national chairman seem to be on the same page, saying that the party held and it was okay. The party primary is held and it was okay. National Working Committee is saying no, the party, the primary didn't,
I mean, it's also a bit confusing to me because you expect that the National Working Committee are supposed to report to the national chairman, and there has to be some sort of correspondence between the two for such a very important assignment, as that. First of all, we turned on our TVs and we saw people troop out in their numbers to go to various wards and local governments to go out to vote. To say that those elections did not hold, for me, becomes wishful thinking. We saw people troop out in their numbers to go out and go vote. The National Working Committee, I think at about 1 or 2 p.m., when the news broke out, said they didn't have papers or something, gave some kind of excuse. And you'll be wondering where they were,
when it started.
When the election started, as early as 9 o'clock in the morning, that you realized you didn't have enough papers or you didn't prepare enough for the elections. You see, sometimes when we cry to our roof that due diligence has to be done in assignments in governance. The little things matter. If you don't take care of the little things, the bigger things will become...
The bigger things become,
of course. You're preparing for an election, you should do due diligence to make sure that you have every single material in place so that there's no story at the end of the day.
Another issue that this development has brought up by a delay is the mode of the election itself. We saw the option A4 coming back to place. Some would say it became very, very popular in 1993 during that election. How democratic is the system of electing?
Extremely democratic. I mean, it's very easy. There's a picture here, there's a picture here. just queue behind you. I mean, it makes life extremely easy.
I think it's one of the most transparent elections you can.
You see,
you know from the start if you have won the election or if you have lost it. But the point there is, looking at it further, it is seen as, in the modern day, seen as a crude way of conducting election, where it is no longer fashionable in the modern world. Because the point there is, people have different kind of affiliations. And as it is, it's possible that the person who is your dad or who is your uncle or who is your church member is either the one ruling now or who is contesting, but the other person who is also contesting, you have another kind of affiliation. So by the time you queue behind this person, you become uncomfortable when the other person sees you. So the point there is, go to this election, cast your ballot. We don't know who you cast your ballot for, but you have participated. So you leave. The result will speak for itself.
I mean, I tend to buy your argument that you know, you need to progress, you know, as the world advances, you know, and all of that. However, you also have to take into consideration our peculiar realities, you know, and what works for us in particular systems. Of course, you're right. And of course, you didn't even mention the issue of security, where if you're in a stronghold of another position, you could
have visitations.
And that's a real issue, and I tend to agree with that. You know, having said that, it's a primary election. I do not think they have the kind of budget you know, that INEC
I was going to say that it's
to be able to run you know, that kind of you know, closed ballot system.
Remember, the
and all of that.
just made about 3-point-something billion naira from.
I'm not sure they're ready to spend
all of that
on
running a primary election in Lagos. No.
Isn't that why the aspirants bought interest?
No, we don't want to use that run.
Well, I just think that there's need to coordinate these processes. If in Oshu, INEC has to go to the extent of restructuring the ballot booths to ensure that whoever you vote for cannot be shown to someone who wants to buy your vote. Then all of these issues have to be coordinated and incorporated into internal politics, and I mean internal party politics.
Oh yes. I mean, you know, I've always, you know, argued that except you get internal politics right, you probably always have, you know, issues with the larger politics in the country. So
okay, let's move on. There's this concerning topic here. ASU alleges plan to fix 350,000 naira tuition fee for universities, public universities.
Is that for the whole 4-year exercise? I mean, the 4-year study.
Very good question. Well, the point is, I remember the days we went to university. We went to public universities, and the whole of the 4 years in being in the university, you didn't pay up to 50,000 naira as tuition fee.
Okay, Mike, when did you go to university?
I'm not an ancestor yet.
No, but you see, let me be very honest with you. We need to ask ourselves very tough questions, you know, as a country. There is no Nigerian university in the first, you know, 500 universities in the world. I think a Nigerian university sneaked into, you know, the top 660, which was Covenant University, that sneaked in, I think in number 600 and something. And you could clearly see the amount of investment that goes into Covenant University and the school fees that is being paid and all of that. So we need to ask ourselves a hard question as a country. Do we want quality education, or do we want a welfare system that has produced the kind of, the quality of graduates that we are seeing today? I heard the Chancellor for Yale University speak one time, and he talked about how much it costs to train one single student in the university, and about $190,000 that it takes to train one student in a university. Of course, that same university has an endowment fund of over $25 billion, almost your entire national budget. So, first of all, you don't have the money to run a world-class university. You don't. I mean, I just told you Yale has an endowment fund of $25 billion alone, one university. So you don't have that kind of fund. So universities need to start thinking out of the box. How can we charge people a little more so that we can give you quality education?
How then do we bridge the gap?
You can then create a scholarship system, that pays for certain people who do not have that kind of privileges or
the challenge with that, Ayodele,
or who may have exceptional skills.
Or who may have exceptional skills to do that.
I think the challenge with that is the population of the people in this segment. You just heard that Nigeria has the highest population of poor people in the world.
Oh, yes. Listen, education does not have to be a university education. You can get various kind of... I mean, there was a documentary I just saw that blue-collar jobs are even earning more than people who go to universities because of the skills that they bring into the job market. So people can get technical education, people can get different kind of education and skills. In fact, if you ask me, what our country needs more are people who are skilled in the building and repair of basic public infrastructure. We need people with skills as bad as yesterday, and not paper education. You have enough administrators and this. Right. So what we need are skills. So you need skills, people with technical skills.
Exactly.
We can't keep getting people from Cotonou to do tiles for us. We can't keep getting people from, I mean, you can't even find solid carpenters any longer. Those are the skills that we need to be competitive.
You know, we talked about this yesterday, the fact that our education has to be relevant to our needs and all of that. Well, let's check the front page of the Daily Trust. Uncertainty as APC National Working Committee disowns Lagos primary. State chapter declares Sanwo-Olu winner. Oshomole visits Buhari. Now the front page picture here. Missing General, Army recovers 2 more vehicles from Jos Pond. Panic over volcanic-like incident in the Federal Capital Territory. Federal government urges calm. I think we need to pay more attention to this. We recall that a few months ago, it was an issue of tremor. Places just vibrating in Abuja.
Oh yes, serious attention needs to be paid to it. And I hope that the relevant MDAs and parastatals are doing their jobs. I mean, sometimes, like I usually say, we wait for something to happen, and then we all start running left, right, and center. We should learn to build capacity over time in preparation of the eventuality, and so that when things like this happen, you have a team of experts who are putting 20, 25 years in the civil service, who are experienced, who are well trained, who are well traveled, who can give us assurances as to clear our doubts on some of these issues. So I'm sure that the relevant MDAs will be doing their jobs now, be working around the clock to ensure that people are safe, and we'll keep our eye on that.
While we took to kidnapping by graduate suspects, APC Kwara North endorses Mustafa for governorship. A fire raises 10 vehicles on Badagry Expressway. NDIC pays 11 billion naira dividends to failed bank depositors. Others. That's on page 17. This story interests me. Why we took to kidnapping by graduate suspects. We're just talking about university education. On the contrary, there are people who go to school and who come out of it finding out that there's really nothing to do with that level of education.
Because you go to a university and you don't come out with skills. I remember my auntie, Professor, this professor of psychology in Unilag, Professor Duwale. She's about 85 years old.
Yes, right.
And she asked a question. She said, when you graduate with BSc Sociology, it qualifies you to do what?
To be a social engineer.
It qualifies you to do what? So you really need
to teach sociology.
So you really need. That's why I say we have enough people who have the sociologists. You need skills. So if you graduate without skills, you probably will not be able to survive in the kind of country that we have today. Because this is a country where you have people who read religious knowledges as bankers. You have engineers, working in customer service desks. So it's just a misfit. So I think the most important thing are skills.
Okay. All right, let's move on. We're against time, but let's just do a run through this. Vanguard is our next paper now. Confusion trails Lagos APC governorship primaries. Lagos party chair declares Sanwo-Olu winner as Deputy Governor Desert Ambode. And no election took place. National Working Committee panel insists, says exercise holds today. And Ambode hasn't conceded defeat. The ACO is saying that. Okay, they're still back and forth, but we'll wait to see how it will be resolved. Scores escape death as tanker fire raises 9 vehicles in Lagos. That was yesterday, a very sad incident. And Third Mainland Bridge, man jumps into Lagos Lagoon and dies.
extremely sad.
The rate of suicide is still up, and it's still moving up.
It's becoming scary, you know, really becoming scary. When I read the news, and you know, unfortunately, the effect of the popularity, you know, if you understand how perception and system works, the more news about suicide gets into the public, the people jump into lagoons, the more people who were contemplating it are likely to do it. You know, because it works in very funny ways. You just have an idea that somebody else is doing it, you can also do it. So I get worried, you know, when we see stories about people committing suicides, because what it shows is that there's a likelihood, you know, of these things reoccurring if these things are not dealt with.
People seeing suicide as an escape route to solving some of the problems they feel are so surmountable, they cannot unsurmountable. They cannot.
I thought there were at some point the Lagos State government had self-help lines also with people who had issues. There was a line that they could call where they could get help, professional help. I think it was arranged by a ministry in Lagos State government.
You know, I was going to say that it's important that we pay attention to mental health issues like depression.
Yes,
because except you have malaria in this part of the world, you are not considered to be sick. But yeah, there are other bigger issues than having a disease.
When it comes to mental health, I think a lot of people have more issues than they even understand by themselves.
Exactly. But I mean, you can't afford to tell somebody that you're mad.
Because that's the mentality. If you go to a psychiatrist and you want to see, I'm going for a mental check. Are you sure? Let us check your history. All right.
Okay. All right. The final paper we have here is the Daily Sun. Tinubu versus Ambode. It's fight to the finish. Confusion trails APC primary in Lagos as Sanwo-Olu claims victory. And WC panel rejects results, orders fresh election. Oshomole, I told President Buhari primary held. Yeah, details of that on page 8. 9 vehicles destroyed in Lagos fuel tanker fire. Senate, APC clears 7 governors, Kalu Akpabio. 13 killed in fresh Plateau violence, Lalong Sabon's emergency security meeting. An IGP loses suit seeking to stop Senate invitation. All right, Imo Guba stalemate as Okorocha's son-in-law, Uzodimma, claim victories. Party postpones election, raises fresh panel. Oshomole must go. That's coming from Ogun APC. I hope that APC survives this season of primary election with parallel candidates evolving in some quarters.
I think they will survive. They will come out of it, but not without bruises, of course. They will come out of it because, you see, politics is interest-driven, and some people have moved beyond interest to become self-serving, of course. And you have that in various political parties, and certain people who feel that when they lose out, they tear down the whole house with them. So you're going to have incidences like that. But I think the party is going to outlive
the possibility of more defections?
Yeah, well, I call it a family affair, you know, so let them deal with their issues behind closed door, you know, and so I'm sure they will deal with that. It's become part and parcel of Nigerian politics. So they will deal with it, and I'm sure that they'll be better, you know, ready for the general election.
When you say deal with the issue with behind closed door, are you saying we don't need a world press conference?
No.
Well, the point there is, maybe when you finish dealing or when you finish strategizing, you can conduct a press conference.
It's all right.
It's okay.
And we'll be there to cover.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us what the position is. All right, Adili Adil, managing editor, Gloom TV, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you.